Why am I like this? I've asked this question. Every HSP I've ever known has asked this question. If survival of the fittest is the rule, why do we exist? You would think that nature would weed out anything that gets too overstimulated too easily. And it's easy to feel like we're a mistake because we've been told most of our lives that we're too sensitive, that we need to toughen up. HSPs, highly sensitive people, exist for a reason. In fact, humanity may not have even survived to this point without us. To understand why we persist, why HSPs make up 20% of the population and haven't been wiped out by evolution, you have to look at our hardware, the biological wiring that makes us the way we are. It's not just a personality trait. It's actual biology, genetics that make us the way we are, and we serve a very important purpose. And today we're going to look at that. In the 1990s, Dr. Elaine Aron identified sensory processing sensitivity. This is the clinical name for highly sensitive person, or HSP. And the great thing is, it's not just personality quirks. It's measurable biological markers, genetic traits, cortisol levels, differences in brain activity, lots of things that can be measured and quantified that say our biology functions differently than 80% of the population. Dr. Aron identified the 4 pillars of sensory processing sensitivity as the D.O.E.S Framework does. And in this video, I'm going to look at all 4 of those in more detail so you can understand why you overthink, why you empathize so much, why you notice things that other people don't, and why you get overstimulated. And by the end, you're going to see that this is not a flaw, but actually a feature. This is the greatest strength you have and the best way you can contribute to your tribe, to your community, to human society as a whole. We exist for a reason, and we're going to look at exactly what that is. Nature wants us here because we have a powerful role to fulfill. So let's get into it. So what is D.O.E.S? What is the D.O.E.S framework? D.O.E.S stands for depth of processing, overstimulation, emotional reactivity and empathy, and sensing subtleties. And together, these 4 things drive the HSP experience. So let's break them down one by one. First, we have depth of processing. Think of this as the supercomputer that is your brain. We don't just take in information, we interrogate it. We hunt for patterns, especially the hidden ones that other people miss. To an outsider, this can look like overthinking or an overcautious approach, but in fact, we're analyzing things on a level that most people can't even match.
You think so hard. Nobody ever told me that before.
We see subtleties in things that people just miss. And as a result, we spot dangers before they happen. We see the flaw in plans before we take the first step. And a lot of times we're able to come up with innovative solutions that seem really obvious to us, but to everyone else, they're like, we don't just see the surface details, we see the structure underneath. When we see a wall, we understand the studs and the wiring and the plumbing and everything inside. When we look at a project or a plan, we see the levels of execution, the way it affects the people involved. We see all the nitty-gritty details all at once very easily. That's depth of processing. Next up is O, overstimulation. Did you know that a chess grandmaster burns as many calories during a competition as an Olympic athlete in competition? Their brains are operating at such a high capacity that they're burning as many calories as an Olympic athlete, up to 10,000 calories a day. That's insane, right? But that's the biological cost of that kind of thinking. And when we're processing 10 times as much information as everyone around us, and not only are we processing at a high level, we're processing more data than the average person. So when we're taking in more data than they are and processing it at a higher level than they are, we burn out 10 times as fast. We hit that wall and we become overstimulated. This is a biological bottleneck that we have to appreciate. It's not that you're oversensitive, it's that you have so much going on that sometimes you need to find a quiet place to cool down. 1 minute you're fine, the next you're hiding in the bathroom trying to calm yourself down and you don't know what happened. All that's going on is you've got more information coming in than your brain can comfortably process at the level it likes to process. Our brains don't like to work in low process mode. Our brains prefer to process at a high level, so we need to take better control of how much stimulus we're bringing in. And if you need some good strategies on how to manage your overstimulation and help yourself to perform at the best level, I did another video on exactly that topic. There's a link in the description below, so watch that one next. Now, on to number 3, emotional reactivity and empathy. HSPs are literally the heart and conscience of the tribe. Because you process so deeply and you take in so much information, you actually understand people better than the average person. Brain scans show that our mirror neurons, the cells responsible for empathy, actually are more active in our brains than in other people's. We have more empathy than the average person. What this means is you don't just read the room, you feel the room. When somebody's feeling a strong emotion, you feel that strong emotion too. When somebody's in crisis, you ache for them and you can feel that crisis too. One of the key traits of highly sensitive people is secondhand embarrassment. It's really hard to watch someone else being embarrassed. Even in movies or TV, we just can't watch that stuff because we feel embarrassed for them. That's that deep empathy. The flip side of that is we feel really positive emotions even stronger than most people. Basically, we experience life more vividly than everybody else. Our volume is cranked to 11.
11? Look, right across the board.
This can be bad, but it can also be very good. We experience levels of joy and beauty and empathy that sometimes I am so disappointed that other people cannot experience it on the same level as me. I just want them to feel it because it feels so good. You want to share that with everybody. That's one of the great things about being HSP. And finally, we have sensing subtleties. Some people see a forest, other people see the trees. We see every branch and every leaf on the tree and the way that each individual leaf twitches as the wind blows through it. That's the kind of detail that we're looking at when everyone else is just seeing trees or forests. This translates into our ability to sense a shift in body language, to sense the flicker of a light bulb, to smell rain before it comes, to feel the electricity in the air before a lightning strike. We are able to sense danger before something bad happens, and we're able to sense opportunities that other people might walk by. This is what makes us the radar for the tribe. This is why we exist. We protect the tribe and we alert them to opportunities that everyone else would miss. And yeah, I know, this can be exhausting. It's super frustrating when you're trying to point something out and other people ignore you. But when you step into the sensitivity and claim your rightful place as the radar and the guide and the protector of your community and your tribe, it's immensely rewarding because that is exactly what nature intended us to do. One thing I noticed about the D.O.E.S framework after I recorded the video is that it's not in order of how this actually functions in our own brains. So I'm going to break this down in the order it actually works so it makes a little more sense to you if you're having trouble following it. First, you have S, sensing subtleties. This is how all the information comes into your brain. And your five senses bring in millions of bits of information every second. Your brain at the lower level filters out everything it thinks is not important. For example, at any given moment, you can feel the temperature of the air on your skin, but most of the time you don't think about it. The difference is if you're HSP, the list of things that your brain considers important is longer. So you're starting with a bigger set of information because you're not filtering it out. That's how we pick up on things that other people miss. Our brain flags more things as important. After that comes E, the empathy. So if we're noticing more subtleties like body language, those cues that are happy, sad, whatever, and those parts of our brain are lighting up, and then the mirror neurons kick in, we're going to be more clued into other people's emotions because we sense subtleties. And that higher activity in the mirror neurons means that we're going to feel those emotions more. So now you're going to see how this cascades. If there's just too many things in the environment that our brain flags as important, we get overwhelmed. That's where the overstimulation comes in. Where the deep processing comes in is after we've received all this information, we begin to consciously analyze it and ask questions and seek nuance. But all that comes at the end of this cycle. The acronym D.O.E.S is actually kind of working from the inside out, but the way this process happens to us is from the outside in. We bring in the information, have the empathy. We may or may not get overstimulated. If we're overstimulated, we kind of shut down. But if we bypass the overstimulation, then we go to the deep processing. So that's really how it works. Hopefully that makes this a little more clear now that you understand each individual step and how they relate to each other. Now back to the main video. So that's the purpose of being HSP, of having sensory processing sensitivity. It's the reason that you think so much. It's the reason that you sense so much. It's the reason that you're so deeply empathetic. And it's the reason that you sometimes get overstimulated in today's modern world. But When you stop fighting your hardware and begin to embrace it, you see your sensitivity not as a flaw, but as a feature, as your gift to bring to the world, to make you a valued and trusted member of your community and your tribe. You are a high fidelity radar system that nature designed for a purpose. And when you start viewing yourself that way, you stop fighting your hardware and start seeing your sensitivity as a beautiful gift that nature gave you to serve the community around you. And when you embrace it, you become a valued and trusted member of your tribe and your community. And that is what you're meant to do. So learning all this answered a whole lot of questions about myself and my experience in the world. And it helped me know that I'm not alone, that I'm not broken, that I'm not a weirdo. But it also gave me a lot of other questions. For example, is HSP the same thing as being introverted? The answer is no. In fact, 30% of high sensitivity people are extroverted. And I see a lot of correlation between people with high levels of intuition and HSP. So is that the same thing? In fact, HSP, introversion, and intuition are three distinct biological characteristics. But when they combine in one person, you get a very unique personality type. I want to know more about that, so I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm going to share what I learned with you in the next video. So click on that and find out more about the combination of HSP, intuition, and introversion. I'll see you there.